and welcome aboard for Tiny Table Talk for The Challenge Season 38 Ride or Dies Episode 3. Now we have a lot to cover in this Tiny Table Talk, so let's start off talking about... Now after this episode has aired, cast members and Challenge T accounts have come out to say that there is a ton of unaired drama that MTV is just leaving on the cutting room floor. The first thing I want to talk about is that there was a fight between Nerys and Raven. To me, knowing this happened makes the tension between Johnny and Raven in the bar make a lot more sense, where I feel like probably what happened is Johnny didn't want to pick a side. He didn't stand up for his partner, but he also didn't want to stand up against the woman that he likes in the house. So he just kind of stood back and let Raven and Nerys kind of hash it out. And he kind of took a step back. Instead of stepping up for either one of them, he probably played the middle, letting Raven just fend for herself. And I think that's where her frustrations with Johnny came from and stems from, to where maybe he said something about like, oh, I can't take Raven coming at Nerys like that. She's always so dramatic, or said something to that effect, or didn't stand up for her at all. And that's what makes her feel embarrassed in the game, is that my ride or die, the one person that's supposed to have my back, does not have my back in this instant. To me, that makes the bar scene and tension between Johnny and Raven make so much more sense. And I understand from a show perspective, you only have an hour and a half. You probably have 3 days, 24 hours a day worth of footage, and you can't show everything in that 1.5 hours. But my problem is when there's storylines that make no sense, and I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, what got cut out? Why does this bar scene and fight between Raven and Johnny not make sense? Well, because there's a whole big old piece of context that wasn't even put into the show to make us, the audience, know what's going on. And apparently Bananas and Devin is who spurred on the fight between Nerys and Raven, which could possibly be a result of why maybe MTV is like, we don't want to put Devin and Bananas in a bad light, so we're not gonna put that onto the show. Devin also apparently screamed at Colleen, calling her a liar, and demanded an apology letter, which she did write for him, but she wrote it in German. And then when he got the letter, he was more pissed off because he couldn't read the apology letter. Another form of drama that involved Colleen was that Colleen and Jay had a fling or a thing for one another. They were like interested in each other. However, Jay decided to try to break it off to pursue Olivia, which then Olivia rejected Jay, and Colleen was also pissed at Jay. Another interesting portion that I think that MTV really just wanted to make Tommy and Analyse look very messy and very snaky, which they kind of do, is that Analyse took to Instagram and posted a video saying that they were not the ones to try to strike up a deal with Horacio and Olivia, that they were actually summoned by Olivia and Horacio to have a talking with, and that's when they agreed that if we got the safe dagger, we will be cool and we will not call you into elimination. But then, right before the elimination, Fessel came up to them and was like, look, I'm going to need you to send in Olivia and Horacio if you get the safe dagger. We're going to send in... They decided that they were going to go back on their word that they gave to Olivia and Horacio because of the possibility of working with Fessel and maybe the other Big Brother numbers. That could be in their best interest. It is ultimately their decision, and even if they were going to be brought into Fessel's alliance, the Big Brother numbers, you're going directly at the bottom. So you're going to be at the bottom no matter what of the numbers. It was ultimately your decision of who you wanted to save, and you just decided to go with Big Brother and go with the numbers, go with what the vets had told you to do. And I do think that it's going to come and haunt them, because if they don't win, they're going to have the vets nominating them more often. And as well as if Olivia and Horacio do win, they're going to also nominate Tommy and Analyse. I think it's a lose-lose situation for Tommy and Analyse. Also, after Tommy and Analyse chose to send Olivia and Horacio into the elimination, that's when Olivia started yelling to the whole house about how Tommy and Analyse are fake. They're the fakest people in the house, and they are liars and should not be trusted. We got a little bit of that in the edit where TJ asked Horacio and Olivia, like, whoa, you seem pretty upset. What's going on? What's in your mindset? And then they kind of give a little bit more of what they were thinking of. But apparently what wasn't shown is that it was just a lot bigger and a lot more dramatic. That would have been great to see. Olivia and Horacio won, and then all of a sudden just start calling out Tommy and Analyse. Again, I know that this is an edited show. You need to edit some stuff that does not make sense for that storyline for that week. But there's also some things that just spice up the episode and also give context, necessary context to what is shown. Any one of these added back into the episode would have made things a lot spicier and taken what was already what I felt was a good episode into the tier of great episode. I think we were all waiting to see how everything was gonna play out with Jordan and Tori back on the challenge together since their breakup. The last time we saw them together on the challenge was season 35 Total Madness. I think I can speak for all of us saying that we were looking forward to this moment. How was each person going to act and react to seeing the other person there? But watching what happened in this episode, I feel like it was rather tame. It was a rather tame reunion between the two. It's very emotional. Yes, it's still early. Yes, they could be still trying to figure out their emotions with each other. Could things get explosive between the two after a couple of episodes have passed and maybe some new things come up and start bubbling up to the surface? Yes, of course. I'm just saying that for a first episode and first interaction with each other, I thought it was relatively tame, chill, and both were very supportive of one another. And I think that's really big because they didn't have this like small fling of a relationship. They didn't have this amicable split. It was pretty messy on social media. And then when Jemmye was putting stuff out on her Patreon, they actually talked things out in the club and hugged things out, which I thought was really big of them. But what do you have to say about Tori and Jordan and their interactions with each other on this first episode? Were you expecting big fireworks? Were you expecting big angry outbursts? Or were you expecting what you saw, which was very emotional and them hugging things out? Let me know anything and everything down in the comment section below. And now let's get into the Ridin and Dyin section of Tiny Table Talk, where a team that I feel like is on the up and up, that's riding high, and I'm gonna pick, I think I'm gonna pick one that's gonna surprise a lot of people. I'm gonna say Nelson and Nurys. I think Nelson and Nurys is in a really good position in the game. I mean, they were second place in Heat 1 for the daily challenge. I think that's an indication that Nelson and Nurys are staying competitive, but not being looked at as a giant threat. And I just feel like Nelson and Nurys, one, is a really actually strong team. Two, is a fun team to hang out and watch. And three, you also don't have this love triangle, any of this like drama that's hanging over Nurys and Nelson anymore, because boom, that's been severed. Johnny and Raven are gone. You don't have to worry about that anymore. Now let's just worry about the game. Let's worry about working together, and let's work on getting into power, which I do think that the challenge is setting up that Nelson will win a daily challenge. And when that happens, we will celebrate. Now let's talk about a duo that is dying, and I think that it's no surprise from what happens in this episode that we can say that Tommy and Analyse are a team that should be worried. They're freaking out about not doing well in the daily challenge. They're freaking out about possibly being nominated and being sent into the elimination. This is just episode 3. Then they go and make a double deal that ultimately comes back to screw them over to where the little numbers that they have now is gonna turn against them. They had to break their word. You know, you can't sit in a room and be like, oh, we couldn't win 3 daily challenges. We were last place in Heat 1. I don't think people are really seeing you as weak at that point, but when you're sitting there and Giant Bananas comes in and you're crying on your bed, being like, oh, we did so bad, I think that's going to be viewed more as weakness. I think they're going to have a tough hill to climb. What do you think about my Ridin and Dyin teams? Let me know down in the comment section below. But now let's get to this week's comment section. Now let's read some comments from my Thursday's review and recap, and the first comment is from M, who says, I don't like how a new challenge announces winners for daily challenges. It feels like it's not transparent at all anymore. Some kind of standings or times posted on screen would make me feel way better about the challenges. I'm very skeptical about Banani last week. Also, did Fessy really beat Johnny? Feels like both outcomes benefit production and keeps popular characters safe. I just don't like the lack of transparency there. I love the season so far though. Olivia and Horacio are great for the show. Really love their energy and vibes. Now, if you've watched me cover other challenge seasons, you know full and well that I am all about transparency. The more transparent, the better in my opinion. And I completely agree. I've heard this critique from other fans and some of my patrons talk about this in our Discord during the episode. I am all for showing some sort of time. I know it doesn't even make a difference at the end of the day because they could make the time anything that they want, but just having something there I think would make a lot of the fans who is already skeptical a little bit more at ease, just having something there on the screen, you know? T. Jones comes in with a comment saying, okay, but Tori and Jordan had tears in my eyes. That was a pretty powerful moment in the bar. Now, the conversation was cut down quite a bit because, again, we didn't hear in the trailer where Jordan says, I'm not here to get back at you. And Tori said, you're the liar. That part was completely cut out. What we did get, though, was very sincere. We got tears. We got a hug. We felt something. We felt some emotion. I felt like this was a real life moment and it wasn't manufactured at all. I really enjoyed that moment and it was very powerful, in my opinion. Very, very powerful. The next comment comes from Emony Rocks or Emony Rocks, who says, I can't remember the last time I liked a group of rookies the way I do for Johnny, Raven, and Olivia Horacio. They were doing some damage from the way they had everyone shook. Wish Johnny and Raven won that daily, or Tommy and Analyse made a smarter move to keep all four of them there, but apparently we can't always have nice things. I was thinking that as well. Like, I don't like to deal with too much into the what ifs of like episodes or sporting events or whatever, but this was a moment where I was like, man, we could have had Johnny and Raven calling out Laurel and Jack since they called them out in episode 1, Tori and Devin since they called them out in episode 1. They were definitely going to call out Bananas and Nany for sure, and maybe Casey and Kenny as well, because if they're calling out Bananas and Nany, why not call out Casey and Kenny as well? Just think of any of those two teams facing off against each other in the double-decker elimination. Oh my goodness, what could have been? What could have been? And now we have to wait because I thought Fessy did a very bland, safe move this episode. Not saying it's the wrong one for his game. It was just as an audience member, it was very bland. He made his decision and he is fully in the vet's side of things. But man, wait until we could possibly get a Jay and Michelle win or an Olivia and Horacio win. That week is going to be explosive, and I cannot wait. Caroline comes in with a comment saying, Horacio has me clothesline and sinker. He seems super sweet and kind, but competes like an absolute monster. I'm so happy Olivia and him are doing so well. I hope we see them again. Yeah, he's incredible. I was even thinking about, like, if they were to do another Inferno where it's like the good guys versus the badasses, 100% Horacio is going to be on the good guys team. It's too early to give him, like, a comparison to a legend, but the first person that came to my mind was like Landon. He's just a nice guy, doesn't want to get on anybody's bad side, just is there to compete against people at their best, and is just an overall nice guy. And that's who Horacio kind of reminds me of at this moment. Not saying that he's a Landon, because Landon's a 3-time champ who is a legend in this game. Not saying that about Horacio. This is still really early in his challenge career if he is going to come back for another season, but that's just who I picture in my mind when Horacio is competing, and then when he talks in the confessionals about being just nice and wanting to take everybody at their word and want to play an upstanding game and not really want to get into the whole like alliance and physics of everything, backstabbing. Pinito comes in with a comment saying, I typically don't like new hall brawls, but this was amazing. This was fantastic. I mean, out of all the variations, Double Decker is my favorite. I just thought this was really well done and really well executed, and it also helps that both teams were very closely matched up with each other, and it wasn't just a complete blowout on one side or the other. that this went to 3 rounds, and it was just highly competitive, nail-biting, and really well executed. A+ on the double-decker, in my opinion. Now, I want to highlight 2 comments at the same time. We have Space Age 007 saying, "Love the outfit, Drew. Are you new boot goofin'?" And then we also have RB who commented, "Right meow. For y'all that missed that, that's a Super Troopers reference. Love the outfit. Made my day." First, I just want to say, I'm glad it made your day. I wore a Reno 911 outfit. That's where the new boot goofin', which is one of my favorite TV moments in TV history is. I always laugh at it. And I did a Super Troopers reference. They are separate entities. I love that both of y'all got the references. I love both of those references. And I'm happy to read in the comments that people were really enjoying the costume. That's one of my favorite costumes that I own. And I'm happy that people were enjoying it, getting people in the Halloween spirit. And I'm going to be doing that a couple of times. As you can see, I'm the captain. And I have another couple of outfits for the next couple of videos and a Patreon live that I'm doing on Saturday night. So I got some different ideas. And the final comment comes from Oliver, who says, "I love this episode. I cannot wait for Darrell and Queen Bee to come on in. How are they going to find their footing coming in this late?" And I'm sure that Bananas, Jordan, and all the vets are going to be happy welcoming Darrell and Veronica with open arms, but we're going to have to wait and see how ride or die, or how closely of a bond that Darrell and Veronica really are in the game. But that is it for Tiny Table Talk for this week. What'd you think about this episode? Let me know down in the comment section below. What'd you think about the Tori and Jordan reunion? And what do you think about Tommy and Analyse's decision to go back on their word and to kind of side with Fessel and his game plan and kind of do his dirty work by backstabbing Horacio and Louis by sending them into the elimination against their best friends and allies in Johnny and Raven? Was that a good move? Was that a bad move? And what do you think about hearing about all the unaired drama that MTV is leaving on the cutting room floor? Do you think that the episodes are missing that spice, missing that drama? Or do you think that it didn't really need it? This episode was really good. Let me know anything and everything down in the comment section below. While you're down there, hit that like and subscribe button. I want to give a special shout out thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/angelcakevids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you to everyone who is watching this video up to this point. I'll be back really, really soon with more Challenge 38 content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.